All right, welcome back to the Honest Cigar Experience. I am super pumped. We've got international guests with us this evening.
You're not pulling another audible, are you?
No, this has been in the works for a while. So I'm super pumped. We got some guests coming on. This is Tyler.
Hi, Tyler. I'm Chad.
It's nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you.
We should do a podcast together.
We should.
I have some really good ideas.
Should we exchange numbers first?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Some late night texting or whatever it takes to get this podcast up and running. Anyway, all right. So we got we are going to be graced by our guests. Before we get there, I'm smoking a Foundation cigar, the Wise Man, which is just a really good cigar. But the cool thing about it is it's a Nicaraguan puro, which means it's wrapper, binder, filler, all Nicaraguan. So it's 100% Nicaraguan tobacco.
Trying to rub that in?
I am trying to rub that in. I'm emphasizing the puro.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to do a puro too.
This sounds like a Nicaraguan episode.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to wait any further. I'm going to get these people in and introduce. We've got Joshua and Sin Coburn. They are guests from Nicaragua. They are not born and raised Nicaraguan that I know, but we'll get into that. But guys, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you guys jumping on with us.
Yeah, thank you for sure.
Our pleasure. Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
No, not born and raised Nicaraguan.
Yeah. As it was coming out of my mouth, I was like, I don't actually know, and I can't make any assumptions because I'm always wrong. So
No, I couldn't have been born and raised more not Nicaraguan. Like
Yeah.
I'm from central Iowa in a town of 1,300 people, and she's from Detroit, Michigan. So
Yeah.
Michigan folks. Okay.
Yeah.
Chad's gonna ask what team, or do you even care?
Michigan State or University of Michigan?
Oh, I'm gonna go U of M. I'll always be U of M. But,
Okay.
I
If
mean,
you said
truthfully-
state, I was going to end this call. Saying.
No.
and then we were gonna smoke our cigars and go to bed happy.
Yeah.
So, but now you get to determine how this is gonna really go.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
That's how we do it.
Right.
That's
That's
I
amazing.
just don't have the note card to do it.
Oh, to hold up? Yeah. Was that a jab at my morning post? Is that it?
No.
I think we were
I
giving
could be.
respect to the Morning Post is what we were trying to do.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, nice. I liked it better when it was a jab.
This is I
But-
love it. So
But no,
let's
we're not from Nicaragua.
okay, so you are middle USA folk, and I was thinking actually at dinner this evening, I was like, well, I got to make sure I get to the podcast because it got real special guests coming on, and my wife's like, well, who are they? Tell us about them. And I'm like, I kind of don't even know how to explain where this started, except I followed you on Instagram, and you are like an international speaker. You are a motivational speaker, just a guy who doesn't give the shit about anything, anyone's opinion at least. And you have there have been moments that I pull up my Instagram and I got this image of Joshua fully tattooed and big old beard. And he's got this be nice to people today. And I'm like, that's like church, man. That's like right what I needed to hear today. So enough of that over the last couple months and year or so. And I'm like, these people are just rock stars. We got to have them on.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, there's always the marketing bio and the BS that everybody wants, that podcasters want, that the media wants, that publishers want, that, places I'm speaking or she's speaking want. But the real fact of the matter is we're just a couple of people who are trying to leave the world better than we found it. We're trying to build people up, trying to help people kick more ass than what they kick, trying to pull them out of the shit that they're in, because we've been in that shit.
Yeah.
And we know it sucks. And sometimes we still go through the shit. And that's really all it is. It's, we're we're like your back pocket supporters, right? Like not athletic supporters, but back pocket supporters. Like just because we're here to kind of give a different perspective, but also let people know, like, look, the world's an ugly place and shit's not easy, but we're showing up, we're putting our best foot forward, and you can too. And here's a little nudge toward that,
Right.
Yes, okay, so we write books and we travel and speak and do all that shit and smoke cigars and et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, none of that shit really matters. It all rolls up into, we're just a couple of people from the Midwest that are trying to make the world a better place. That's it.
And we're not going to give you that 10-step program that, a lot of these famous people do. That's not how we roll.
Right.
So we've had a lot of different people say different things to us, but in the end of the day, we're going to do what we do. And we feel like people can relate to us more when we don't do the 10-step program and you're just kind of in the mud with us, because just because we've had a rough past doesn't mean we don't struggle with some of that stuff now.
Sure.
And on the days we struggle, that's typically why you're reading what you do from Josh, because
Right.
that was a struggle for that morning or that day prior.
Right.
So-
That's still real shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're in the thick of it with everybody. We just we've found our way out of a lot of deep things. And, we just want to share that because we don't want other people to go through the things that we've gone through. And we want to be that helping hand while other people are going through this kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
I love it.
So there's your long-winded response.
It's good, man. Real quick, you mentioned before we jump on podcast, how did you guys meet?
go ahead, because you
yeah.
were the DM slider.
On Instagram.
I
Yeah.
found you first, but I had no idea who you were.
Right,
And I
like,
never messaged you. Or anything.
I had seen her on Instagram because she followed me. And if I recall, she had a private account at the time. And I could see only the small profile picture. I'm like, oh, she's attractive. I'll follow. But I'm not one to just be like, oh, hey, cutie, what's up? Like, I don't do that shit. I didn't do that shit. And then one day I was traveling, I think in Arizona, and I posted this video about, at the time, my workout routine, how I would roll out of bed and I do 50 push-ups. And, in order to film that, to show that, I had to get up, set up the camera, get back in bed, and then do it, right? But of course, that's not how it looks. It looks like, oh, hey, Josh just got up and he's doing push-ups and he's talking about it in his post text. How inspiring. But her being the smart ass that she is, chimes in a comment making fun of the fact that I had to go through all this setup to do this. And I'm like, okay.
Everybody else is praising him as they usually do in his comments, and I just come trotting in like, oh, you had to do this and this.
I know your
And I'm
secret.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and I'm like, he's gonna hate me after this one.
So I immediately DM this hot chick, and I'm like, what's up? Because she opened the door, I just ran through it.
Right.
And that truly was it. That truly was it. And 40 days later, we found ourselves on a business trip, because that's what you do when you meet somebody. You start business together within 40 days. And we were in Colorado, and 46 days actually, and ended up getting married in Vail, Colorado. It was Vail, right?
Mhm.
In Vail, Colorado. And our families didn't know. Kids
Nobody
didn't
knew.
know, nothing, because we didn't even know. And and that's, now we're two and a half years later, living in Nicaragua after moving a couple states a couple times and traveling the world. So
Nice.
that's that. Crazy.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Sin, at some point you were like, I'll give him a shot.
Yeah, actually, it was like really weird because, obviously, like going through all the normal processes of meeting people that are potentially someone, you could go for.
Potential suitors.
Yeah,
That's
potential.
right.
Yeah. Wait, what is that word when they're courting? Is it courting?
Yeah, courting.
Yeah.
Courting for a mate.
Like I said, when I first found him on social media, I had no idea what he did. Not a thing. And he was out filming for
Motor Trend.
Motor Trend. And so I gathered that, but I knew he had a book out because it was talked about in his bio, but I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
So anyway, so like the whole trip, he's like MIA. Like no one can find him because he's like out in the desert trying to get reception to talk to me and everything, like missing all these dinners and like, this crazy stuff. But through that, I realized that he was a motivational speaker, and I was kind of in that same profession, just on a smaller level. So it's just really weird, like how we met and that timing. And I'm a true believer that things happen for a reason.
Sure.
And I think that's also why, like, it was so easy for us to jump into business too, because we are very like-minded people. And I was doing the same kind of thing, but through a boys' home. They were anywhere from 12 to 17 years old. They're juvenile sex offenders. So I was going through that. I was going through kids and parents who were killing themselves, and it was just a lot of heavy stuff. But I chose to take this job on because I also had a rough past. So I was doing the motivational speaking on a much smaller level, and then I moved into kind of the older generation, the elderly people, and helping them and everything. So, and I think when we met, that's what I was doing, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were doing a lot of the background logistics at that time.
Yeah. So that's kind of how everything everything is clicked so quickly. It was the weirdest thing, but yeah, so we just kind of jumped on board together and decided to make our individual ventures kind of mesh, and we just went for it. So it was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Well, Tyler and I, we've only been together for a little over a year.
Yep.
We didn't meet on Instagram. He is still kind of jealous because
Don't tell the story.
my beard's a little longer, but he doesn't know. I don't know what you do, Josh, but back hair, man, shave that stuff off, a little bit of glue.
Put
works
up
every
front.
time. But
Nice.
yeah, but I mean, we're about we're a little over a year now.
Yep.
Going strong.
Hey, good.
Yeah, and probably a year now.
Who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting? I'm definitely counting. I'm definitely counting.
It's better not to, because then then
you're never wrong.
I don't remember dates.
Yep, you can't be wrong. Because I don't remember shit. Like I'm the fucking worst at remembering anything.
It's good to know. We too can be like you someday. If we don't have memory. No, yeah, this will be episode number 46.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Already?
Yeah, right. And then so episode 50 is coming up, and we've already got that scheduled out, and we're not revealing who that is yet, but that's already scheduled. I'm super pumped. I'll just say he's in the cigar industry for sure.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. But
obviously more cool than us, because we're only episode 46. So fuck. I guess.
Sorry, brother.
You're the pregame.
Cool. You're pregame, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's all right. You know what? When we get more views than episode 50, we'll come back for an episode 60 celebration.
I love it. I love it.
I'm just giving you shit, man.
Yeah, no, man. We've had it. We've for such a little podcast that we are in my freaking garage, we've had some pretty big game hitters on the podcast, and we got a few more coming. So nice. I'm excited for it for sure. And but like I said, episode 50 will come up here in a minute. But I think literally a year of podcasting is like either this week or next week.
I think it's like today or tomorrow. It wasn't like the 23rd, 24th.
It's 20-something, 26th, 27th of July. So we've been doing this for almost exactly a year.
I'm going to look it up.
Down to the day. So
that's pretty amazing that you guys have busted that out. Scheduling's hard.
It has been. And it's been, when we started the whole thing, the idea was all we need to do is just hit 10. If we can come up with 10, I think we'll figure this out.
Tomorrow is 1 year.
Tomorrow is 1 year.
But actually, we recorded that a few days prior, and just some D-bag took our name, and we had to postpone everything.
Shit.
Yeah, so we had a different name, and literally about to hit launch, and hours before we hit launch,
less than 3 hours,
this other guy took that name and we were like, well, we can't. So
Oh
anyway,
no.
You're better for it. You're
better for it.
You're
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Like you said, we all bump into roads and we just make shit happen and change it up and keep moving forward. So
Absolutely. That's how it's done, man. That's life. You can't predict it. You just keep moving.
and smoke good cigars in the meantime.
Hells yes.
You guys mentioned twice now that you guys, within just a couple of weeks of meeting each other, you started a business. What's that business? Tell us about that.
Well, that business trip in particular was actually to start a whiskey. So
What?
we went to Colorado. Yeah.
You guys buried the lead on that one.
Well,
we ended up we decided not to after months and months. It's harder when it comes to online orders. So
distribution was an issue, and we were okay with it being an issue. And as we were working through that, on our end, like again, the company we were working with, awesome, still awesome. Ryan over there is great.
They're military backing, great people.
But what it came down to is every kind of wall we ran into kept pushing out like the profit return. So, I'm cool with a 6 month, eight month, a year. Then you start getting to 18 months, 24 months, and then the margins start shrinking. And again, we wanted this. So it's like, okay, can we make this happen? Then COVID starts to become an issue.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, look, people aren't even going into stores or bars or whatever. So now what? And it's just like, that had to go on hold. I'm not going to say it's over because
I think he still has our barrel sitting there. Actually.
Yeah, he may or may not. If not, because we did have a blend picked out. We had it all ready to go. We had a couple test labels ready. But again, what happened is the margin just kept getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And then COVID hit and it just caused issues. I mean, and again, it's one of those situations where worst comes to worst. We have 150 bottles of our favorite blended whiskey.
Which we were absolutely okay with.
Yeah, that we could have and share with friends. Big fucking deal.
It's a rough life you got there.
Yeah, right. Big fucking deal. Except for now, because it'd be a real pain in the ass to get those here. But the goal obviously was to get them to people like you guys, people that followed us that were into, whiskey and cigars and just wanted something different because we were going to sign and number every one of them. And that was going to be it, The goal wasn't to get into like bars and distribute and get all crazy. It was to get in you guys' hands. So, one to go, one to show. Set one on a shelf as a collector's item, the other drink it up.
Yep.
And it was going to be a $75 bottle, which was worth every penny.
Yep.
But it just, at the time, the timing hasn't been right. I'm not taking it off the table, but it hasn't been right. But that was our first kind of venture that we started walking down.
Right.
And then our brand started to coalesce too, which speaking and all that started happening.
And
together.
I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason, because when we decided we were going to let that fizzle out is also when we decided we were going to mesh ourselves together and start speaking together.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we decided to go public with the fact that we smoke cigars, which we were hesitant about doing because when you're speaking to schools, anywhere from middle school to high school to college or corporations, it's kind of a touchy subject. People that aren't in the cigar world, they don't understand the significance of cigars. Right. And they relate it to other things. So like, how can you sit here and talk about these things yet you smoke cigars? So we had a little bit of a backlash from that, but honestly, like we've had such a smooth transition that's kind of what we started to do. So we did a couple speaking engagements with schools, and then we started doing what was called Kick All the Ash events. So we would speak at cigar lounges. And we came up with that name because his newest book, which is now unfortunately sold out, part of the heading of it was so you can kick all the ass.
Right.
So we just
Something
kind
I
of
said all the time.
Yeah. So we just kind of changed it to Kick All the Ash, because what you guys mentioned prior to us, going live was about how, there's so many good stories and conversations that come up from smoking cigars because people feel relaxed, whether they're in a lounge, they're herfing it together, whether it's online or whatever. When you're in that relaxed environment, things come out and you feel a sense of like, quote unquote brotherhood between people. And one of the biggest things we always talk about, and it doesn't matter what kind of podcast, is the fact that cigars bring people together. You can be a doctor sitting next to a janitor, sitting next to somebody that picks up your trash every week, and you're all going to find that common denominator through cigars and have a great conversation. And it's just salt of the earth people in this community. And they're willing to help you thrive and succeed and, do whatever that you feel is best in life. So we kind of ran with the whole cigar thing and helping people through cigars. So that's kind of where we're at now with all that. So
right. Well, yeah, sort of where we're all. Well, we got
we have
so
many irons in the fire right now. But yes,
there's stuff we can't even talk about yet. There's stuff it's insane for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we came here to semi-retire, and I'm sitting here like,
so
what the fuck is that?
I'm like, sure, we'll take this on. Great.
But it's different. It's a different life here,
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I mean, I don't know where you guys want to go, but I'm going there. So deal. So like here for us, it is different. It's slower paced. It's simple. It is a simple life. The things that are hard in America are not hard here. The things that are very simple in America, though, are pretty difficult here, which I can kind of expand on that later if anybody cares. But here there's not a deluge of information in your face all the time. There's not, all this shit coming at you. I get up in the morning, I start the coffee, take care of the cats and the dogs,
meditate,
chill for, a good 5 to 10 minutes. And then I do my push-ups and I get into work.
The push-ups got to be in there still, right?
Yep. And then I just dive into work. And my only concerns all day are my work, my family, and what's going on right around here. Do we need food? Because here they're not injected with a bunch of shit, so you can't keep it for 6 months. You go to the market, you get food, you eat it, or it spoils in 2 days, and you repeat. And it's like, are we going to the market later today, or are we not? Is that not today? Or do we have to pick up our order from wherever, in town, or do we not? And if it's a no-go day, I sit here and I chill and smoke cigars and I work. And that's the fucking hard life that I'm living right now. Yeah. And there's no bullshit. There's zero bullshit. It's crazy.
Wait, but what the only thing is that is bullshit here is you would think in the land of Nicaragua and cigars, we would have just cigars falling out of the sky for us. Not the case. We cannot get a hold of cigars
are
here.
A bitch to get here.
Yeah, they're actually their biggest market is exporting. So to find cigars is our biggest challenge.
Yep.
Thankfully, we have some amazing friends and, they're in the cigar industry. We're super close with Black Label Trading. So, our hearts go out to them. They are constantly asking if we need anything and getting us stuff. So
yeah, they're our Esteli mule because they go to the factory in Esteli and we live on the coast. Right,
4.5 hours away from Esteli,
and they're about a 6-minute drive from us. So, they're always running stuff for us, which is so awesome. At this point, I figure by the end of the year, I'm going to owe them a left leg and a kidney for all the cigars. But
which we've already discussed, and they think we're joking. But I'm pretty sure something's going to be on ice soon.
It's really funny because the first time, they bring us, I'm like, just kind of whatever. This is, bring us some stuff you would like us to smoke or try or whatever.
Right.
And they do. And it's not a lot. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, hey, can you, if possible, we'd love, some more, and I'll shoot you over the the PayPal or Cash App or whatever and pay you. And they're like, yeah. And it's a little more. And then this last time I'm like, hey guys, we're out. We need, and literally I went to the bottom of our humidor and dug out a porcelain that we brought from America here because I thought I was out of fucking Black Labels. And I had that smoke. And then the next day they show up with this like mass amount. And I'm like, that's what we need. That's what I want.
Now you get how much we smoke.
Now we're talking.
Our vices are extra large. Thank you.
Yeah. But it is interesting because sugarcane, I think it's sugarcane and cigars are their biggest export, tobacco.
Really?
So, to get like, there's not like a lounge in town. There's not every store selling it because the government wants it exported. So companies that are above a certain size, actually, if memory serves, I'm no expert, but if memory serves, if you're above a certain size, you can't sell in country. You have to export. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Is Black Label, is that out of Oveja Negra?
Yes. Yeah.
Oveja
They're
Negra,
part of that. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, all those.
Which-
Emilio, which
is where his cigar's from too.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all under the same
Oveja is like
umbrella.
that umbrella. Yeah.
Yep. And there's Dissident, Black Label, Blackworks, and
Blackworks, yeah.
Emilio. Yep.
And they're the ones that you guys did the tour with. 'Cause I followed that journey a while back too. So for the listeners, so there are some, not all, because not all of them really care, but there are some cigar plantations. It's not even like the head company, but like the plantation. Well, you can go down there and you can see, I mean, literally from seed to plant to rolling to storage to band making and box making. I mean, you can see their whole operation. Just watch it all happen. Get an absolute, neck deep submersion into the culture, into the tobacco, you see how many hands are touching the leaves all the time. And I have yet to do this experience. It is on like the top of my bucket list, but my brother-in-law is also a cigar guy too. And he's like, we should go down to Oveja. And I was like, twist my arm, threaten me with a good time. We just haven't done it. You guys went and did it. And I was like,
Yeah.
now I got to go.
It's an absolute must, especially with them, because it's not self-contained. They let you experience Nicaragua as well.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
take
cool.
you to local restaurants and stuff, so you're not like on the factory grounds staying there. It's not this self-contained thing. So if you're a traveler, like a real fucking traveler,
Yep.
it's the best experience. If you are someone that says they travel but they go to Punta Cana and never go off the resort, you're not a
Right.
fucking traveler. You're a guy who goes to a different place to drink booze you already paid for.
Right.
You can get both of those experiences here. It just depends on what you're really truly after. And
Right.
Oveja Negra
They nail
really
it
is for
with-
the traveler.
Yeah, they nail it with, they'll take you to restaurants where you're like, this is really sketchy. I don't know. And they're like, no, you're going to get the
Trust us.
full
Yep.
Nicaraguan experience. And we're like, okay. But yeah, it's awesome because just like you were saying, through Black Label, we actually got to go to where they make the boxes and stuff. We saw that firsthand. And that was really cool to see because all the time, you grab a box of cigars, you think nothing of that box. Cool
Right.
box, great, great design on it, whatever. But when we went there and we saw the way they did it and we got to talk to the people behind that, it just blew us away. And it kind of made us feel a little bit more connected to not only the brand, but there's multiple brands that use this one company for these boxes. And we were seeing anywhere from, your normal dressed men to women working these like heavy duty machines, yet they have makeup on and they're wearing a dress and heels and they got a cigarette hanging out of their mouth. And I'm just like, hell yeah.
And then you got your
That's right.
who's hanging out shirtless, smoking a cigarette too, in shorts and no shoes, right next to her doing the same thing. And it's
Sure.
like, number one, I'm like, apparently there's no OSHA here, which is fucking awesome. And also, nobody cared. Like, that's what's so beautiful about being here. People all the time are like, you know, you guys look so different. I'll bet you get a lot of shit from the locals here. And it's like, no, we don't get any shit. We don't get any shit at all, because all of that
Nobody
is
cares.
manufactured American bullshit. That's,
right.
That's not this. Here, it's the thing that I get stopped on the most is my beard, because Nicaraguans don't grow huge beards.
Right.
And she gets stopped a lot about her hair and how pretty her face tattoos are.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we get. It's definitely not the opposite. So yeah,
We're
it's
laughing
wonderful.
because our Spanish is so bad.
Yeah.
And they will politely correct us, and we're like, thank you.
Yeah, I'm
I
so
need a
fucking
baño and I need it muy importante, please. I need
Yes.
a baño. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the same.
That is him.
grassy ass muchacho.
Gracias, muchacho. Thank you, sir.
That's yes, that's.
That is him.
I mean,
I'm like,
and I try not to, but I'm just the fucking Midwest douchebag that's making it in a different world, you know?
Yeah.
Anybody who
That's so
says you can't, just look at me. Like, just be like, bro, he fucking figured it out. Look at the guy.
Yeah. If he can do it, we can do it, right? Well, and it's interesting. Actually, I'm going to go back a little bit on like stuff that's easy in Nicaragua is hard in America, and stuff that's hard in Nicaragua is easy. And I got a chance to listen to a speaker, and his whole thing was talking about, like, let's take social media out, let's take internet out, let's take newspaper out, let's go all the way back to like being a person in a village like y'all are. And basically our mind, our brain is only designed to really care about our family, our home, and our local village. I shouldn't care two shits about what's going on in Justin Bieber's world. That shouldn't be top of mind for me. And what ends up happening is we spend all of our mental energy focusing on the fires in Australia and London Congress and celebrities, everything, private parts and everything. We spend so much of our mental energy on all the other stuff that we don't care about. And then our own children are like, but my dad never even knew me. Like, he never came to my soccer games. Well, no, because I was so busy focusing on Justin Bieber or just all the other stuff. And it sounds to me like what you're experiencing is that's actually how we're supposed to think, which is
that's why we came here.
You nailed it.
I don't want to care about anything else. I just want to focus on my family and how my son plays chess or doesn't. Like, what, like, I just need to know
we're with you.
My world, and everything else goes away.
Yeah. We as human beings are meant to live in a more primal state. That is how we truly survive. We are meant to live primal, and we are meant to have community. And we've lost that over the years, especially with technology. And technology is great because we can do things like this. Because of technology, we thrive financially. But you lose that sense of community also. And I mean, the perfect example is yesterday we were sitting in our main house, and our wonderful neighbors, their little girl, she knows English, which is crazy. And she learned it from her mother, and her mother learned it from watching TV and having subtitles on.
Wow.
So yeah, we can communicate with their daughter, which is great. Well, anyway, we're standing in the living room, and I'm watching out the window. And she, this little girl doesn't have a cell phone. Most people here don't have cell phones. They can't afford that. I mean, their homes are made out of sheet metal and stone, Right. And she somehow figured out a way to fasten this rope onto the tree with some stick and this S-shaped metal thing. And she tied that fucker on there, and she's just swinging back and forth. And I'm like, kids these days will never figure that out. And what just happened to her brain? She fucking learned. Her brain just expanded. And this is why we are here, because we want our kids to have this too. We don't want them to be sucked into social media and what Justin Bieber is doing, because we want our legacy to continue. And our legacy started by being in person with people, helping them face to face. And that is being lost at a rapid rate.
Yep.
And, you know, and we talked earlier about how some things are simple here that aren't in America. And one example of that is we go to the grocery store and we have one brand of noodles. We have like 2 brands of ketchup. There's no milk in a jug. You don't have countless options for juices. You want hamburger meat, you're getting it from this one thing right here that's like in this frozen, you know, case or whatever.
Or you go to the butcher who just bought the cow from the guy down the road a day or 2 ago, and that meat's fresh. And he helped that family. You pay him, and that money is going into his pocket.
Right.
And I mean, to stay in line with that topic before I backtrack a little bit, what's amazing about the cigar industry and going and seeing how your $8, $10, $12 cigar is made, seeing the pride that the Roleros and the Bacheros put in when they're working on them.
Yeah.
And knowing they're showing up every day, they are feeding their family with this, and knowing the lowest margin goes to the factories, number one, and it's being meticulously put together by these amazing men and women, sometimes as a legacy, and they're taking or they're putting their heart and soul into that thing that you're gonna smoke, like.
And they are so happy.
Yeah,
they'll be singing while they're making these cigars. And we, you know, since being here, we've learned what average wages are for pretty much any job. And it breaks your heart. But then you're like, there's so much to learn from this because these people are just so happy. And, you know, we're not as Americans because we have everything.
Yeah.
And
where's your
nothing
goal?
is satisfying,
you know?
You know? And so this is exactly what we wanted for our kids by moving here. And this is what we wanted for ourselves. We wanted to stay humble. We just now got a TV and we've lived here for months, and we only got a TV because we wanted to be able to watch movies every now and then. But we couldn't tell you what's going on in the news. We have no idea. And that was a choice we willingly made because we don't want the outside world affecting our world. And our world is our family. And you know, how we raise this family and how this community is, you know?
Right.
And please, for those listeners who are the social media types that, you know, will say, when I say I like oranges, they're like, well, you failed to mention apples. You must not like apples. No, don't hear what I'm not saying. We don't hate America. We actually love the United States. We love the freedom that's there. We love the fact that you can go there with nothing and build an empire of everything. You can't do that in any country. We're able to do this because of that.
Sure.
America afforded us that. So she is not talking shit about America. We're not, you know, veteran haters, because Jesus Christ, if people know us, they know that we support all of that stuff.
Right.
So please don't hear what we're also not saying. It's important to address that, because weirdly we've gotten haters for moving out of the country, and it's like, what? Like, no, like you have it backwards, bro, you know, and that's fine. People can have their opinions, but yeah, the community is just lost.
It is interesting though, that like, unfortunately what has become like this American freedom is also an American judgment. Like there's this freedom to judge as you will. And it's like, wait. Let's go back to the girl who tied the thing and the metal S thing, whatever. That's a reasoning skill. That is a look at and think with your brain and process. And we don't do that well in America. Like, hey, the Coburns, like they picked up and moved to Nicaragua because they wanted to get away and start an adventure and whatever. It doesn't mean that they're flipping off everybody as they leave and be like, well, screw you, America. Like we're out. Like we're going on a new adventure. We're going to do new things. We just want to get clear and clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanted to get back to what was originally, you know, being primal. And yes, we live in a beautiful house. The pictures you see, you know, our house is beautiful. But what people don't see is, like I mentioned the other day, like our fridge is being held together with tape. And like our stove, you know, it runs on a propane tank underneath our cupboard.
Yeah, we don't have some big LP tank outside. I have to I got to go into town, back to the what's easy in America isn't easy here. You guys can go to any gas station or any, store and get, your propane tank replaced, right? Here, I got to find the guy or two guys in town that have them and hope they have them full and get one. If they're out, I got to leave it in the car for 3 days until they get their next shipment of full ones. Like that's, when we were here, because again, America's easy, something fucks up, you call AA, they come out, they fix your car, you're back on the road. Here, there's like one paved road and then the roads in town are paved. Everything else is dirt. You need 4-wheel drive to go to the beaches and shit. And our car, the first week we lost a lug nut. And I'm like, I can't just look that up on the internet and have it Amazon Prime to me so I can slap that bitch on there. No, I go into town. And by the time I got to town, I'd also lost a second one because my dumb ass didn't check them all.
He's not car savvy.
I'm learning. So,
I
go
real
into
quick.
town. Dude, yeah. And I go into town and there's this legit door, right? Like a door you would walk in your closet, like a closet door in this building. And next to it is this list of services in Spanish. And there's stacks of tires. And I drove by there before and I saw him inside through this door with one tire replacement machine doing the deed, And I'm like, I'll bet he's got lug nuts. I stop, we figure it out through my shitty Spanish and his shitty English. And he brings out 2 lug nuts and I slap them on there and life is good.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because that took me a week to figure out now it wouldn't, obviously, but it would have taken me 2 days to get that all the way across the country and onto my vehicle in America. So it's different and it's an adventure and it's real. And I had to stand there with this dude and look him in the face and be like, look, I don't know your language because I'm not as smart as you yet. And you don't know mine because why the hell would you care to know it? And let's figure this out together because you need money and I need you to get this on here. Right. And that piece of it, we needed each other for this one stupid thing that's this big. We needed each other. And that's what makes this country thrive. And honestly, it's what makes that country thrive. It's just different, Here is like living in America in what my grandfather described in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah. 1870s America, there's some technology, but it's, and being fair, lug nuts not exactly in chapter 1 of the Spanish book either. So
right.
I need a lug nut. Sell me a lug nut. I don't know how
the streets are thin and you can park on either side of the street facing any direction you want. So thankfully I lost lug nuts off both sides of the vehicle. So I just walked him out there and pointed to it. And then I walked to the front of the vehicle and showed him what it was. And we got it figured out.
Need one of those.
And I was like, dose.
So good.
And he's like, yeah, we got that. We can do this.
I got you.
That's so great. Well, tell me, I know that you guys, again, this is just from following and hearing your story. You guys recently adopted a puppy.
Yes. Yeah.
But there's more to that story than just adopting a puppy.
Yeah, we're 48 hours into that. And what we originally, and this was like a spur of the moment thing. We were driving to town and I mentioned to Josh that we should still give back in some way, even though we're in another country. And I was like, what if we adopt a senior citizen dog and just let him live out his life with us, because those are the dogs that are always left in shelters, no matter where you're at. Nobody wants those dogs. And we already knew of a specific dog because we saw him listed. So we go there and she's like, oh, he was just adopted yesterday. And
which is awesome. To an older couple. So I'm
like, because that dog has been sitting there for a while. But, and as she's telling me, I see this frail dog just walk out from the back. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Okay. And Josh was still sitting in our car with our dog.
With our other dog, Jake,
yeah. And so I waved him in and I was trying to get information on this dog. And I won't go into specifics. It's pretty enraging. But I will say that it was a man who had multiple chances to feed this dog. He was taught how to feed this dog, did not do it. And when the dog was dying, he had his children go dump him out on the street.
Like dying to the point, like couldn't
move,
get up, couldn't lift its head. Pretty rough.
Thankfully, SOS, which is the nonprofit vet here, was able to find him and grabbed him. And this is 11 days ago now. So when we got in there, it was 9 days since they rescued him, and he was still in just terrible shape. I mean, it was Auschwitz type stuff. He looks like he should not be living. And so we just kind of quickly decided we were going to take this dog in, and whether he survives or not, we were going to give him all the love in the world and give him a soft place to lay and just experience things that this dog has never experienced before.
Sure.
So that's where we're at now with him.
And he's doing good. He got up last night by himself, out of bed, and got water and stuff like that. And that sounds maybe silly to somebody, but if you go to our Instagram or Facebook, you'll see how emaciated this dog is.
Oh,
yeah.
And he can't even, he struggles to poop because literally every ounce of muscle is gone. And just to even do something that simple, he doesn't have those muscles. Right. And so today we were panicking because he had to go outside and he couldn't go. And so he just sat there and just tried, and he was getting weak and he was shaking and couldn't get it out.
I'm trying to massage his butt, like, shit you got to do when you're trying to make things happen.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the struggle that we're in right now. And it's the reality of it.
He's doing better. We've seen improvement since we've had him. I have all the hope in the world. But you guys know you're big, tough, bearded, badass motherfuckers sitting over there. I see you. But I don't care who you are. That shit is both enraging and tears your heart right out. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm an angry person. I have an angry disposition. I have to work at it. That's why I post every day the things I do. Gets me right for the day. And I turn, all the rage that I have toward the individual who created this situation. It's all love for this dog. It's turning into that because that's what this dog needs, because that rage isn't going to help him. Mm-hmm. It's going to poison him, and we need to give him love. So
we're just thankful we don't know this guy's name or where he lives or anything because that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, that's when you start just being like, I'm just going to go slash all of his tires. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to, just beat him to a pulp, and that'll be a good day for me. So
just take his lug nuts.
Yeah, just take his lug nuts.
I wonder what he drives, right?
Take his back tire, by the way.
No, I'm not going to incriminate myself, because what's going to happen is this is going to go live Monday, and some shit's going to go down Tuesday, and I'm going to get blamed because I said something. So I'm not going to say a damn word. But
for the record, Joshua did nothing. For the record, Joshua.
It really sucks, and it just tears your goddamn heart out to see, a loving, living creature in the state that he's in. But God damn it, if anybody can bring him back from the brink and give him the best life, it can be us, and we're going to do it.
And what's awesome is back to technology, because we have large followings, especially Josh. Just by talking about this has allowed this nonprofit to get a lot of donations in, which is awesome. Great. Because, they don't have to be nonprofit. I mean, this is a struggling country, but they chose to be nonprofit. That way they can give free services to the locals that can't afford to get things for their animals, right? Especially being spayed and neutered and, your vaccines, parvo, whatever. They're able to do.
Uh-oh. Our first glitch.
That is a classic picture, though.
That is a good picture. That's a great one. You know what? Honestly,
I feel like we're listening to Spanish now. Like, I don't know what they're saying.
Well,
there we are.
Oh, but we don't hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we're good now. Our microphone.
Okay. Okay, good.
Just saying, like, out of 46 episodes, we've not had anything like that. And
Well, we did one. It was it Echelon?
Echelon, yeah.
But it kicked like it all stayed together, so it worked out.
It worked out.
Well, regardless, it doesn't matter. You also got to remember you're dealing with people, halfway across the goddamn world right now. So things are going to go backwards and sideways.
And it's raining here, so it very well could be our internet too, even though the router is right next to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Which, by the way, is the rain causing any issues for you guys, like audio wise?
we can't hear it. If you didn't say it, we wouldn't even know.
Awesome. Okay.
Can't hear it, can't nothing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think that, and Sin, you brought it up that I think it's worth repeating. I think that the world is in a freaking hustle just to grind and make an extra dollar, make an extra $10, and we're losing our humanity in the process of going faster, disconnecting from our family, disconnecting from our churches, disconnecting from what keeps us grounded, and we're just going after whatever I can do to become influencer status, whatever I can do to be and it's not even Instagram or influencer, it's you see it in your work environment too. I mean, people just, it's cutthroat, whatever I can do to cut you down so that I can advance to the next level. I think that the cigar community has always been really kind to me, regardless of if you share the same faith, regardless if you share the same language, regardless of whatever. And like you said, you could be a lawyer, you could be sitting next to a senator, and you could be sitting next to a garbage man. What do we call him now? Sanitation engineer.
There you go, yeah.
No one cares because, like, come sit down, light up, like let's chill out together. Let's be kind to our animals. Let's be, and I feel like specifically in the cigar community, but I'm noticing in other communities as well, is we're trying to turn each other back. Like, hey, you're going this way. Let's turn each other back a little bit. Like, don't forget your family. Don't forget your kids. Don't forget just being generous at your grocery store, being kind at at Lug Nuts Emporium. Like, just
right.
Be nice, be kind, be good people.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, what's really funny is when I speak, one of the main things that I talk about and hit on, because there's always 5 takeaways when I speak, but what it really comes down to is if and we fail at it as humans, is if you have something nice to say it, right? Like, it's like, dude, I dig your hat. Well, you'll walk past somebody and then you'll say, babe, did you see his hat? That was cool as shit. But you never say, bro, I'm not trying to be weird or anything, but I really dig that hat. And then it's like, oh, it's this new company, such and such off-road or whatever. And it's like, oh, fuck, that's cool. Well, can you give me their Instagram, whatever? Then I buy the hat, right? And now this small business, because I said something, got a sale. And it wasn't because of anything other than I had something nice to say, so I said it. Right. I could maybe Google hats with the triangle logo, but fuck, how are you gonna get that? So that short 2-second interaction when you're walking down the street or walking through your Walmart or wherever the fuck you're at changes everything. Yeah. And you may actually find out that, like, I dug your hat, but also I dug your hat because I'm into that and you're obviously into that. So now we're talking in depth about shit, and our wives are rolling their eyes and our kids are like, are you ready to go? Can we leave yet? But what comes of that is a friendship that you wouldn't have had if you wouldn't have just said something nice. And it's so lost.
And you're saving lives in the process too. It's like, how many funerals have we gone to where we talk about these people and how wonderful they were? But how often do we actually talk face to face to those people and tell them how wonderful they are? That's so lost. And people think that that's like embarrassing or whatever. No, it's not, because you're saving lives by doing that, especially now, because people only have screens for friends, and we're just losing that sense of community. So it's so important to talk face to face and to say those things that you're thinking in your head, because you don't know when you're going to save a life.
Or if you'll ever be able to say it again, because you could leave that Walmart and get hit by a fucking bus and that's it. Opportunity over.
Right.
People are always, like, oh, such and such happened. Hug your kids tighter. Well, no, because I do that every day. I say what I need to say every day. And, like I was just talking to a buddy of mine back in the States and I'm going to see him in Utah. And like, it's a business thing. He's a business partner. But first thing he said is, dude, when I see you, you're going to get the biggest hug ever. And you know what? That's two, burly ass tough guys hugging it out in the airport. And right. You know what? I don't give a shit because right. I might not get the opportunity to do that again. And, right. Like I hug all my friends, every one of them, they get hugged. I don't care if you're, 6'8", and tattooed, or if you're, a 5'2", tiny little woman who's, 83 years old. If I care, you're getting a hug. Sure. And it's just because I want you to know that matters, and I may not get that chance again. That's so important. And my grandmother hugged everybody. When we used to go to like Walmart, the people at the cash registers would see, and they would stop and leave their post if there's a line, and they would go get a hug from her because it was that important to them. Yeah. And it sounds silly, but God damn it fucking matters.
Well, and taking the premise of what we talk about is like, let's get honest, let's get vulnerable. We could have easily just done a podcast on sports talk and just discuss about whatever, but there's a value in I love what you're saying, even about like the hat. Like, I just need to let you know I dig the hat. But there's also moments in the grocery store where you see a dad who laughed with his kids and didn't get annoyed that they were loud or whatever. And you have an opportunity to turn around and go, man, you know what? That was an awesome dad move. Like that was right. Like, and I think that the typical response that I would speak into is men in general. We do all we can to bury emotions, bury vulnerabilities and sensitivities. And for us to go, you know what, actually, that really touched me, how you parented your son just then. I'm going to take that home and I'm going to do the same thing. Like,
right.
Then getting into like, but that's the thing is we typically, men in general, I would say humanity is losing that art, but men in general don't have anything nice to say most of the time, unless it's like, oh, that's a badass truck, like really, really cool, like machismo things. Not, man, that really touched me that you would take time to get down on your son's level and get on your knee and smile with him and joke and not be irritated and not be
right.
Like,
yep.
Kids are supposed to be seen, not heard. Like, that's not okay. Like that's disconnecting a father's heart from his son's heart. And that's like, that's creating open wounds right there. I mean, that's right. Horrible. And I you're saying.
And let's be real, like everybody has some sort of past, so, and we all bury it. So why not create relationships versus knocking people down constantly or getting irritated by somebody? Figure out why they're fucking irritated. There's always a why to everything. Yeah. If one of the biggest things that I learned just from running the boys' home is that there is always a why. Anger is a secondary emotion. It's not a primary emotion. Anger comes because of something else. And that's usually sadness or not feeling heard or not feeling validated. Yep. So there's always that why. And I think it's our responsibility as humans and community to figure out that why and make that connection with people. That's what makes the world a better place.
And in the interest of being vulnerable, since she's talking about anger not being a root emotion, a secondary emotion. And of course, I'm the guy that backs my ass in the corner on a fucking public podcast and says, I'm naturally angry. So now obviously I got to call myself out for the why, right? Because truly what I think it comes from is I struggle most. And this probably comes as a surprise, but I struggle most with self-worth. And she notices that in ways that I don't see it, but it's because like, I have heart issues. My family has a history of heart issues. I don't give a shit about taking heart medication. I don't care. Like, I'm here today. Let's be here today. Let's enjoy today. Let's live life. I don't want to like limp through my last 40 years. But she's like, look, you have a family now. You have life to lead healthily. And it's like, okay, that's a self-worth move right there. And that's me not putting that first. Like, right. I'm good at mental health and all that stuff, but self-worth is tough. And I think for a lot of dudes, because for a lot of us guys, it comes down to the simple, you're a provider, you create kids and you provide for them and you provide for your wife. And that is it. That is your role, right? But there's a bigger picture to that. There's a lot more to that. And that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever been taught. Those are the things I'm best at. If you tell me I have to carry the world tomorrow, I will pick it up and I will run up mountains with it because I can do that. But if you tell me, well, you're going to die doing it, maybe you shouldn't, I'd be like, I don't give a shit. And that's where the problem lies for me. So that's my constant struggle is like, what am I worth? Like, if I die tomorrow, does it matter? Well, it matters to her. Yeah. So those are things that I struggle with. That's where my anger, I think, comes from. I'm sure it's rooted in a lot of other things that, we tend to bury deep down and they come out only in weird times. But, that's the reality of it for all of us.
And people think that they are healed from things by putting Band-Aids on their emotions versus actually allowing yourself to feel on a soul level to get through these major issues that you're hurting from. And people are so scared to touch that. Mm-hmm. But that is vulnerability, and you need that vulnerability in order to live a good soulful life. Right. And people are so terrified of that. But that is how, if you want to live a fruitful life, you do it on a soul level. And sometimes that means digging down to that hurt and working through it, and we're here for people to help them do that because we know that that's what it takes to get through stuff. It's just scary for people. Why do you want to be vulnerable? That leaves you open for more hurt, So that's what we try to focus on. I know that Chad is, he's got something else to say on that, but to that point, I find it very fascinating, Joshua, for you specifically. You have been able to speak into so many people's lives as a source of wisdom, a source of like, you're going through your struggles, but you're also like, hey, you can overcome those struggles. And now you're in an environment where you might literally just say, I actually don't have anyone to influence right now. I need to check myself and I need to just sit, meditate, ponder deeply. And the person you need to minister to or speak into right now is actually just your own soul. What would you in your own crowd say to yourself? Right. And that might take a couple of months. That might take a whole year. That might take a
couple of years, 10 years.
Yeah.
No, man, you're right. You're exactly right. That was also part of moving here for us.
Yeah. And, a lot of people have this thing of, when they go through hardships, it's a why me? Why has this happened to me? I hate my life. Things just suck. I'm not going to bother trying harder for anything anymore. And they need to get that frame of mind out of their brain because that's not the way it is. Like perspective. Life is all about perspective. You can take anything and turn it into good, even something so tragic, like from suicide to, I was part of a mass shooting and, I witnessed a suicide and, I could be this hardened, callous bitch because of these things that I've witnessed. But what I did instead was I turned that around and I said, these are lessons. I can now help people because of this. Yeah. How do I heal from this? What are the bricks that are being thrown at me and how can I lay this down for a solid foundation? So nothing to me has hindered my life. It has helped me to grow. Yeah. And that's something that is really hard for people to grasp, and that takes strength, and again, it takes vulnerability. So you have to learn that vulnerability.
Yep.
And that's how you succeed at life.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of going back, but it kind of worked out with everything was just said. Even going back to the comment about, you know, walking into somebody and, you know, saying something nice about their hat or what they're wearing, or just something, just really saying something to them positive that you noticed in the moment.
Right.
With, I mean, with COVID, with social media, with everything, I mean, mental health is skyrocketing. And
Right.
let's just say that one person that you stopped to have that conversation about that hat, they may have been on their way to do something bad, whether it was to end their life, whatever the case may be. And that might have been
Right.
just a little bit of a spark to change their way of thinking. And, you know, it could go back to, you know, it could save lives, you know, and
100%.
too many people don't speak up and say what they like, you know, or what they appreciate, you know, from somebody, until it's too late, right? It's you got a funeral and
Right.
somebody's speaking, like you said earlier. But just taking that moment, you see something in real time, you know, take that 30, 45 seconds, you know, whether it's uncomfortable or not, and tell them what you really think, you know, tell them how appreciative you are of them, or they look nice, or, you know,
Yeah.
conversation. It could be a random stranger, it doesn't matter, because that could potentially have been their last conversation. And it could change the outcome as far as what was going to come up next, you know, in that person's life.
Absolutely, man. Like,
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about, you know, your workplace environment and how everybody's just out to get each other and, you know, all for their own or whatever. And Josh has spoken a lot in corporations about this very thing, because, you know, he'll talk often about, you know, Karen's just slamming her fingers down on her keys and she's pissed off and just hates life, and everybody hates her because she's always in a bad mood. Well, there's a why to that. Why is she being like that? No one wants to ask, hey, Karen, are you okay? Like, just
Yeah.
doing a, you know,
Is
checking
shit
up
home
on
alright?
you, you know, like, hey, I see you drink coffee every day. Like, how do you like your coffee? How about I get that for you today? So you can just sit there and relax for a little bit. People don't want to think of it like that. They just want to be like, oh, fucking Karen, she's a bitch. She's just always over there angry and this and that. But no one wants to take the time and put that effort into that person to figure out why they could be like that. And you might just very well crack that shell, and now you just made their life 10 times better. And that is going to be remembered by that person too, because you were the one person that cared, even though she may have been a bitch to you.
right. It always goes back to that Maya Angelou quote that's, and I'm paraphrasing here because I'm shitty at remembering anything. But it's something along the lines of, people don't remember what you do or what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel, right? And that's an absolute fact. And that's why when we talked at the very beginning of this, like, everybody wants a fucking bio and all this shit, you know, from us for things. Like, my bio is, I'm going to make you feel better when we're done talking. That's the best bio I could ever give. Like, that's all I can say, is I'm here to make things better for people. Anyone I encounter, I'm trying to make it better. And it comes from putting those things into practice, right? It comes from practicing your happiness, because it's not, that shit ain't perpetual. And I mean, just the other day, I practiced what we're talking about, because we were at this place called Tree Casa here, which is a cool kind of resort. And they have like a family night on Wednesdays. And there's this older couple, I would say, what, 70s, 80s, that just moved here. I didn't know any of this. And they were sitting there talking, and they were alone, laughing, having a good time. And I kind of observed them for a few minutes, and it just so happened their table was on my way to the restroom. And I stopped on my way back, and before I got a word out, the gentleman stuck his hand out and introduced himself and introduced his wife, which was cool as hell. And then I was like, hey, look, like, after we talked, so I didn't even get to get this out first. But I was like, look, I came over here because it was awesome to observe you guys having a conversation and laughing and enjoying each other's company 40 years-ish, 30 years-ish beyond where my wife and I are at. I hope that I could be that. I hope that I could do that tomorrow because I'm much too serious and I suck at that too. And they're doing it. And they were flattered and they're like, well, that's very kind of you to say. And I also should have said, how the hell do you do it? But I didn't get into that yet. And if I see them again, I will, because those are things I aspire to. I want to know. I want to see it. You know, I want to be there too.
I think that, and it's interesting you mentioned that because we were just talking this week about at my at work, we were just talking about how do you ask somebody to mentor you? How do you vulnerably say, I've got my stuff together. I'm on a career path that's going forward and I'm so freaking excited, but you know what? I could learn a thing or two from you. Can I buy you lunch this week or next week or whatever? Can I just ask you a couple questions and you just take your 40 years of experience in marriage, or maybe it's in business, maybe it's whatever, and just say, man, can you just teach me some things? Because that's the other thing is my wife is brilliant in relationship building, because she has these two like foundational stones that when we invite somebody over, we're looking for two things. One is we talked about is vulnerability. Like, are you willing to share a little bit of your life with us? We want you to be a part of our life. We're inviting you over to have a bonfire, or have a cigar, have a good meal. We would like to know more about you. And that's being vulnerable. And we're all ready to share. And we're like, we're open book. We've got a bunch of horror stories that we'd be willing to share as well. But there is a level of curiosity that also isn't taught either. You should learn your shit on your own. You want it, you go YouTube it, or you go read the book on it, and you be a self-made man or woman. And that's the only way to go forward, is like, you want it, go get it, baby. Grind. It's like, no, actually, there's a value in just being curious and being like, I don't have it all together. Will you teach me something like that? And it doesn't have to be like a mentorship situation, but like you said, that actually was a perfect opportunity for you to say, what's one piece of advice that you have for a young couple, how do you get to where you're at? Like, it's a level of curiosity, and that's a humble approach too. It's a humility thing, but that level of like, I want to learn. I want to actually admit I don't have it all together.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm the first guy, like she said earlier, I don't know shit about cars. I don't know shit about cars. I don't know shit about a lot of shit. And I'm always the first guy to say that, because I do want to know. Like, yeah, I want to be the world's most interesting man. And if I'm going to get there, I can't do it unless I'm asking questions, right? Unless I'm around people that know more than me. And the only time that I better be the smartest man in the room on one specific subject is when I'm standing there with the mic getting paid to do it. Otherwise, I want to be the dumbest guy there, and I want to figure it out. Right. And if I'm not, like the old saying goes, I'm in the wrong place. I'm in the wrong room. Right. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, yeah, kids that want to YouTube something, YouTube the fuck out of it. Cool. Figure it out. That's great. I love that. But at the end of the day, if you can have somebody there next to you who's supporting you, who's giving you that backbone that you needed, who's providing your confidence, who's, giving you things that take time to build, if you can just have somebody hand that to you, shit, you just cut out, a year, 2 years, 10 years of learning? I mean, I tell people all the time, when I started smoking cigars, I learned more in my first 6 months in a cigar lounge than I learned about business in my first 20 years. Like, it was insane. And I was doing better. My businesses were doing better. I was smashing goals, all because I sat around people that knew more than me and I could ask questions.
I love it, man. I love it. I think we got about 5 more minutes with you guys. We're both over here just like
bring it.
Speak, say the things. We're learning.
Well, I will say, I was just going to say, a lot of things that were brought up is stuff that we've talked about in the past, and we had an episode, really getting into everything happens for a reason, which I know you mentioned a couple times. Can you guys still hear us?
Yeah. hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to trump the volume, and I totally screwed that one up.
We got you now. Sorry.
You failed. But you mentioned a few times about everything happens for a reason, and we've talked about that. We've talked about how social media and technology is a blessing and a curse. You know, it has a lot of really good things out of it, but it's destroying humanity. There's so much bad stuff that comes out of it. You know, so it's like, you know, and unfortunately I feel there's more negative than good when it comes to that topic.
Right.
But but a lot of things we've talked about, we've talked about in the past, which I think is kind of cool because all of us kind of coming together. It's what we do, what we talk about, and, you know, having this conversation with you guys, a lot of it's coming together, and it's a lot of stuff that I think we're all on the same page with. And it was just refreshing hearing it, you know, coming full circle.
And it's funny how many times we'll get in to have a, you know, we're going to talk about, I don't know, we you know, one episode we were talking about being overwhelmed and what that looks like and why people get overwhelmed and what we can do to combat that. But I'll literally be like, hey, this week, let's talk about being overwhelmed. I got a couple, you know, either, you know, Bible passages, or we got a couple of quotes or books that we're reading. And then he'll come with a story of like what happened in his week that week. And so it's literally more times we can count. We're literally going through the same challenge that week, if you will.
Right.
And a lot of it's stuff we're talking about right now, which is there's just been, you know, we talked about being overworked and being like workaholics. We both have tendencies to be workaholics.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that the solution to that is I think we need to give ourselves permission to not know all the things.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be the master of everything, and you don't need to have any shame or problem or guilt that you don't remember things. Like that's a part of how you operate. There's a way that we can accommodate for those things. And we like, okay, so I'm going to take some extra attention in remembering my anniversary because I know it's important to sin, but it's not important to me. Like, I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at it, but I'm going to choose to do it because it's valuable for her. But I think that there's still so many, I feel like what I'm trying to say is I feel like a lot of people just need to give themselves permission. A, it's okay to be vulnerable. B, it's okay to be humble. I don't have it all together. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to choose kind behavior in the process of all that. I'm going to release my frustration in positive way rather than becoming a Karen, becoming somebody who's just, well, that's just not who I am. So I'm just not going to do it. Right. Like,
right. Yeah, no, I feel that 100%. And if there's any parting words here, it's that we don't have the answers, but somebody does. And it takes communication. It takes a conversation. And the problem is that the youth and many of us as adults, because of technology, have failed to learn or relearn how to open a conversation. And it's very much as simple as, hey man, I dig that fucking beard. I know it takes time to make that shit look good, and yours looks good, you know? And that alone is a starter. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it, like I said, it comes down to, if you have something nice to say it. If there's something nice you can do, go do that shit. Because at the end of the day, that's going to change lives. Sitting and staring at fucking YouTube, that'll help you learn a lot of shit. But if there's no action, you're fucked. It's not real. It is not real. The only real thing is taking action and putting those things into motion. And if you don't know, somebody knows. So figure it out. Find that person. Shit, post. If you're afraid of being vulnerable, the best thing you can do is hide behind your screen like vulnerable asshole trolls do. And instead of talking shit, simply say, hey guys, I don't know this. Any of you out there in social media land know about this subject? And the number of comments, because people want that. They want to flex a bit. And then you'll find the one you click with. And now you have your mentorship. Now you have your buddy. Now you have your best friend. Now you provided purpose to another human being who maybe didn't have it before.
Yep.
And those are the important things. It's communication. Right. And we suck at it as people, but we have more means of doing it than we ever have before. How in the hell did that happen?
Right. Well, I do got to admit, I do appreciate you complimenting me on my beard. I have a very specific brand of beard oil that I use. It's a beard balm. You might know about it, but
Beard Octane.
I use Beard Octane, the barbershop. Oh man, my wife freaking loves it. Like,
that's so awesome, dude. Like that guy Joe. There's a reason we work so closely with Beard Octane, and it's because they are a solid company, good people, work hard, and do this. We had conversations in order to learn.
Friends before business. That's how
friends
we see
before
everything.
business always.
And he became a friend, and we love his stuff, and it's all natural and not tested on animals, and
that's
just
why
love that guy.
That's why you should go get Coburned or go get Sinful, and put us all over your face.
Yeah. Hey guys, I so appreciate you guys coming on, and we're gonna put like the link to your Instagram and you guys have a YouTube channel as well.
We do. We don't really use it, but best place is just Google us, Joshua Coburn, Sin Coburn, Sinister.com, JoshuaCoburn.com.
CYNN, yep, CYN.
Yep. Or just Sin Coburn, at Sin Coburn, at Joshua Coburn on the social medias. Yep. And like I said, if you can't find us, just hit Google. Yep. You'll search us up. Probably find a bunch of shit you don't care about, but you'll find photos of us, and that's all you need, right?
You're easy to find. I appreciate you guys, and I'm just gonna let you guys know that you guys have been influential in my life. You guys have changed my day. You've given me good insights and wisdom. That insights and wisdom has come to my home, to my dinner table, and so in the fashion of what we're talking about, I'm telling you directly. You have influenced me. You brought good days to my days. And so I personally, not like voice of the podcast, Tyler, have appreciated your insights to my life. And so I hope we can definitely do this again. I would say you guys are more friends than guests on the show. So don't be for anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate it. It's very humbling to hear that. Thank you so much. Like I said, we're just a couple Midwesterners trying to make the world better. And to be honest, if you're the only one we ever affect, we're winning, because one is better than none, and that's really what it comes down to. So thank you guys very much, not only for that, but for spending time with us and allowing us the time with you, because let's be real, that's the most precious commodity, and we're losing it every second. So it's important who we spend it with. So thank you guys.
And not gonna lie, last thing, I would be lying if I said that getting down to Nicaragua, the two of us coming to hang with you guys, that's on the list, man. We got to get that. We got to get that done.
Oh yeah.
You know how to reach us. We'll give you guys the real shit. No
do
tourist
a live
bullshit.
Podcast here.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the next podcast from here.
We really do have better cameras than we do. So, all right, guys.
Sit in our bar in our pool and just,
Here, you guys put that in the universe. We'll put this in the universe. Episode 60.
Oh.
Episode 60. That shortens your timeline. If we don't make it 60, it might be 65. It might be 70. Fuck, it might be episode 100. But that doesn't matter. Get down here. We'll do an episode on site in Nicaragua with Nicaraguan cigars.
Yeah, baby. All right. Hey, bless you guys. So thankful you guys could jump on. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
Right,
cheers.
so
Take care,
much.
guys.
You guys.